Ali from Ali Stitch Fingers here. Today, as promised, I'm going to show you how to make the Ciara bag. It comes in kit form and is available from my website, which is alistitchfingers.co.uk. It will be available as a pattern only, which could be a download if we get it sorted. This one is the cork version with the black faux leather. There is another version which is the butterfly, and this comes with the dark blue faux leather. Today I'm going to make you one with my own fabrics, and I'm going to use the citrus. Now inside you have got a little pocket here. I know it's hard for you to see, but there is a little pocket which will take the smaller of the phones, and it's got some card slots in the front, and also it has a little elastic for putting a pen in, which is quite hard to see when it's so dark inside, but you'll see as we get under construction. So how do we go about making this bag? I've got quite a lot prepped just to save a bit of time. Now the faux leather is, I've cut it to the length required. It tells you in the pattern how to do that. And this time I'm going to use this sewable double-sided tape. Don't use your paper double-sided tape. Basically it's just peels off like you would for the paper craft. And we're going to stick, I've stuck it down the middle. We're going to stick the sides in like so, so you've got enough showing to stick the other side in, and that's just going to hold it in place. And I find that a lot easier to do. If you don't have the double-sided tape, you can just hold it with clips while you get it stitched up, but I just find this a lot easier. But make sure it's a sewable one. So I'll just finish off doing the sticking and then we'll get on with sewing. Now this faux leather is quite a soft one, so you don't need to have a special needle in your machine. I've got just a standard universal needle. I do use a triple stitch, and that is because I like the look of the triple stitch. It gives it like a really, like you've got a thick thread. It does 3 stitches over the top of each other, and it looks like 3 lines on your selector. Right, so you can see I'm just clipping all these together, and I'm going to stitch all the way down the edge here and all the way down the other side using the triple stitch. So I will put that on my machine. I will just move the camera around slightly so you can see where I'm stitching. So just move that light out of the way so it's not on. I have got a walking foot on, and I would recommend, if you have a walking foot, use it. I'm going to take my clips out as I go. I'm not throwing them on the floor. I've got a little bowl at the side of me. By the way, this is the hottest day we've had so far in 2021. It's beautiful outside and we're still in March. Oops, it's saying my bobbin thread's running out, and I don't think it is, but let's have a look. Sometimes the detector can't see it. No, it's certainly not, so let's carry on. I'm stitching on the very edge. I'd say it's probably 1/8 of an inch. It is quite a long strap, but you can actually personalise your bag to a shorter strap, or even do it even longer if you want to. But I would say you could have it as a cross the body bag if you wanted to. I am going to put my strap on with rivets. This is a bag that I'm going to have for myself, which is why I'm doing it in the different fabric. I haven't shown you it, have I yet? Look at that, makes your mouth water. It's lovely. clips hold it together nicely while you get it sewn. I'm only going to do one side for now because I am going to rivet it on so I can do the other side after I finish the bag, just to save a bit of time. But I will show you the stitches. There we go, so I'll put it back onto a normal stitch now. So if I pull that a bit closer, can we see? Will it focus? I don't know if you can see, but it's giving you that lovely, there you go, nice triple stitch on there. So that is the strap done. I would go down the other side, as I said. The next thing I'm going to do, because I've got black thread on, is I'm going to add the accent piece. So we've cut our two side pieces, and this is the front accent. Now, if you're doing the butterfly one, you can choose a part of the butterfly that you like. I'm just going to stitch down one long straight edge. I'm using about 1 centimetre stitch length, and I'm not going to press. Obviously, if this is faux leather and I don't want to ruin the faux leather, so I'm just pressing with my fingers. I do have I think it's a clover tool, which has got like a little flat piece on that you can use for pressing, and that just helps it stay nice and flat. So that's one side done. I'm now going to take the other side, and if you lay it flat, you can see where it's supposed to go. Make sure that seam's folded flat, and then place that over the top and stitch the other section onto there. You can use clips if you like. I've just back tacked at the top, and now I am going to fold the faux leather the opposite way, and again just give it a finger press and use the little tool to just help that along. So there you can see you've got the front accent, and I think that looks really lovely. So now what I tell you to do in the instructions is place the pattern piece over the top, and we do it this way because you can then cut it down to add in the little notches for your darts. So place that over the top centrally, and I'm just going to clip that at the top, and I'm going to trim around there and then put in the darts. I'm going to stitch all those up while we're still on black thread. I've got some small scissors here. They will do. So I'm just holding it together with the clips and trimming around the bag. This is the lining I've put on. You could put the pattern piece on. I just find it easier to put the lining piece on because the fabric's going to move as you move the pieces. So trim all the way around. And then cut in those V's. That just removes some of the bulk. There we go. Take those clips off. So your front accent piece is now done. So now what you need to do is sew up these little darts. So you're going to fold the pieces together, right sides together, and we're just going to stitch 1 centimetre away from that cut line. Back tack at the beginning and end, and this will give the bag some shape without having to add a gusset in. So it's a nice easy bag. Same on the other side. Back tacking at both beginning and end, and now you can see when you poke the pieces out, you've actually got some shape to your bag. So we're going to do the same on the back. This is the back piece. So put those two lines together, right sides together, and we're going to stitch along that seam there. Same with the opposite side. And while we're still on black, we can stitch those two together. Again, right sides together, matching up the darts, and you can put one way and one the other way so that they actually nestle together. Pop a clip on there to hold it. Match the opposite side up. Again, push one seam one way and the other seam the opposite way. Just reduces bulk, makes them lay nice and flat. And then we're going to stitch all the way around the bag. I'm going to reduce my stitch a little bit. I'm on 2.5. You don't want to reduce it too much because it could perforate the faux leather and make it tear, but you don't want it too thick either. Make sure the middle seams are lying nice and flat. So I'll turn it to the right side to show you, but that is stitched all the way around. But before I do that, actually, I'm just going to snip some little V's out just on the curves of the bag, making sure you don't snip through the stitches. And that will just help it to lie nice and flat. I will turn it back because do I need it? Yeah, I do need it the other way. So that is the little bag all ready now. So that's the dark fabrics done. So I will change my thread. I'm going to put a yellow on the top and a green underneath, I think. Yeah. So I've got my green. Take my black out. So I've already done that. So I'm going to first of all do the strap connectors, and what I have done is I have pressed the piece in half and then folded in the raw edges to that press line, then fold it in half again and again pressed. I'm now going to stitch down both sides of the strap connectors. Down the opposite side. So now we've got our strap connector done. I'm going to fold it in half and cut down the middle to make two. It's just easier to do it in one. I have a little bowl here with my pieces in. So what I'm going to do is place the ring inside, and I'm going to stitch about ½ inch away from the ring, matching up the raw edge, the seams. So I've just gone over that twice, and that gives you one strap connector, and the other one's going to give me 2. So while I've got these done, I may as well sew them in, then I know that I'm not going to forget to put them in afterwards. So I'm turning my bag back to the right side, oh, sorry, wrong side. I'm going to place one of the connectors level with the halfway of the bag. I'm opening the seam out and I'm going to place it so that where I've just stitched is about 1/4 inch from the top. I'm going to trim off the excess. And I'm going to go over that 2 or 3 times to make sure it's nice and secure, making sure I go over the top of the stitches. We don't want the stitches showing. I think I've come and threaded, just a second. There we go. So just stitching over the top of the previously sewn stitches, forward, back and forward again. So that is over this side seam. Repeat on the other side. So put the stitches 1/4 inch below the top of the bag, trim off the excess and then stitch along the stitch line. Forwards, back, forwards again. So now we've got our straps on both side odds connectors. Right, I'm just going to pop my iron on because I need to press the pocket, sorry, not the pockets, the card slots. Right, the easiest way I found to do this is to cut a piece of paper the same length as the card slot pocket pieces and lay your fabric on the top, right side up, and where those pieces are, I've actually written on the paper the pieces, the folds, tells you in the instructions, and then where they are, just fold your fabric, making sure they're nice and flat, and press with the fabric in. Now I've only just turned the iron on, so oh, it is quite hot actually. So that'll give you a nice crisp finish. So again, just lay the fabric straight down. You can see where you've pressed before onto the paper. Press on that one and press again. And repeat on each fold, and it tells you which ones are up and which ones are down. Just make sure that they're level so you don't want wonky card slots. And press. And then the last one up and press. Give it a good press. Take out the paper, put that in with your pattern so you can use that again. If you do it with freezer paper, it will actually press to your fabric so it stays there nice and securely. And then put your pleats back in, and if they're a little bit wonky, now's the time to straighten them out, but just give them a nice press. I will stand up just to make sure I've got this properly. So now you've got your card slots nicely pressed. Fold back the top single piece and stitch along the very edge of the fold on that piece and the second one. So just fold it out of the way, take it to your machine and stitch that's one. So now I'm going to fold that one back, stitch on the very edge of the next one, and that's going to make those folds stay nice and crisp. So they will stay like that then. Put them back into position bring it so you can see. There you go. So you've got nice, neat card slots. Place that down and put your fuse in onto the back of the back card slot. Place that over the top, and we're going to sew all the way around, making sure that the card slots are going the right way. So that being the top, this is the bottom. We're going to sew all the way around, leaving a turning gap on the bottom piece. I'm just doing about 1/4 inch. It's not really important so long as your cards fit in. Go along the top. Down the side, and then along the bottom, leaving your turning gap. I haven't left a big turning gap, so let's hope I can get this turned. Now cut across the corners, making sure you don't cut your stitches. I'm going to trim a little bit off as well, just to reduce some of the bulk. And then we need to turn it to the right side. There we go. So just turn turn it all the way through if you've left a big enough turning gap. Obviously I never do, so I'm just going to snip my stitches to make it a little bigger. It'd be a lot easier if I left a bigger gap. So turn that through to the right side. You can use that clover tool for turning as well, but to be honest, I find that the pointed end is a little bit sharp and you don't want to poke it through your fabric, so use your finger or a chopstick. In fact, I have a chopstick here, or even a knitting needle, something that's not too sharp on the end. Poke the corners out. I love this fabric. Now, if you find that the corners aren't coming out right, you can use a stiletto and just get a pin or a stiletto into that corner and pull it out from the right side, and then give it a press. So I'm just going to turn the ends in, and while we're pressing, that will turn those in, and we can stitch that turning gap up when we stitch it to the lining. So give that a good press. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is, on this very top edge here, I'm going to top stitch on there, very close to the edge again, and that is going to be the pocket part. So I'm not going to stitch, sorry, I've just dropped a tool. I'm not going to stitch the top to the bag so that I can use it as a little pocket. If you've got a small phone, it may fit in. If not, you can use it for another card slot. So just on the top. So all three of those are now top stitched. Just trim off the threads. Now take one of your lining pieces, and we're going to place the pocket. It just tells you in the instructions where. I'm just going to eyeball it. Don't put it too high because you need to put your things into it. So I've got mine a couple of inches from the top. Make sure it's nice and straight, and we're going to stitch down the two sides and across the bottom. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Is my thread's fraying, just a second. I should have put my aurifiller and I didn't. Oops, I've got it in a knot. Just a second. To be honest, this is not a very long bag to do anyway. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to have a nice holiday and I can take this one with me. Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? So I'm just back stitching till I get back to the top and then carry on all the way around. We're going to sew the turning gap up as we go along the bottom. One more stitch, that's it. Up the side. So that is the phone pocket with the card slots at the front. So now we're going to put on the pen loop. Now it depends what size pen you've got. I do tell you what size to cut it down to. But basically what I did was I folded one end in and the other end over the top so that the back concealed the join, and I just stitched down both ends and my pen fits in the middle. So this is about 3/4 of an inch wide when I've stitched those together. I'm just going to place it in at the side of the pocket, making sure it's probably about central, and I'm going to stitch all the way down the edge, back stitch and then back down, because if you're putting a pen in there it will be removed and taken out quite a few times. Keeping my finger on to hold it all in place, I'm going to stitch down the other side. Right, so take off the loose ends. And there you can see you've got a little pen holder there. Right, so now we're going to do the same with these. Oh, sorry, no, we're not. We're going to put the wadding against the lining. Actually, I should have done it against the main side, but it's doesn't really matter so long as it's in there. Put those two right sides together and repeat as we did for the main section. So back tack and stitch those darts. Right sides together at the opposite side. If you wanted to add a slip pocket or anything, now's the time to do it. You could add it to the other side. Sorry, wrong sides together on your lining. Right sides together on your darts. Repeat on the other side. There we go. So now what we need to do is sew these together, but we need to leave a turning gap. So I'm just matching up the tops and the sides, and I'm going to stitch around the edge. I'm going to leave a bigger turning gap than I did for the little pocket. Match up the darts, again nestle them together, so one seam one way, one seam the other way. When I get past that dart, I'm going to stop and back tack, and that's where I'm going to leave my turning gap. It's easier to leave it on a flat bit. Match up your other dart, one seam to one side, one seam to the other, and I'm going to start just before the darts. And then if you want to clip, feel free to do that, or you can actually pin this one. so that is the lining done. And now we need to do the flap. So we're going to put the wadding down and the fabric right side up. Then we're going to place the lining on top of that, right side down, and stitch all the way around the curves. Now on the curves I'm going to snip some little V's out, and that's going to make it lie nice and flat when we turn it to the right side. Just be very careful that you don't cut through the stitches. You don't need to do it on the straight bits, it's just on the curves. There we go. Turn the flap through to the right side, and we're just going to give that a press, and then I can turn the iron off. So just poke it all out so it's nice and neat, and give that a press. You can put the clasp in at this point if you like, it might be a little bit easier, so I'm going to do that. So you get 3 pieces with your clasp. You get this piece with the prongs on, you get the flat piece which is the back of that one, and then you get these that come together, unless you get the silver one and then it comes in 2 pieces, but it's the same. We're just going to put those little prongs up and separate these 2 pieces. So I'm going to find the halfway mark by folding the flap in half. Find a friction pen. So just mark the halfway. Place the plain one without any prongs at the halfway mark, just above the seam, and we're going to draw around that middle part of the clasp. So you can see on there we've just drawn around that. Now we need to cut that out, and we need to cut it out on the outside of that line through all thicknesses. It's a bit scary, but it'll be absolutely fine. So just cut round all the layers. So there, we've got that done. I'm going to use some Prim glue. Any fabric glue will work, and I'm just going to place it on all those edges of the fabrics, and I'm going to make sure it goes on both sides. It just stops it fraying, and I think it makes it nice and strong. So I'm just going to put the top on while I do this. So now the one with the prongs goes at the back. We need to make sure that there's no fabric showing, and then put the one without the prongs over the top. Tuck all the fabric bits in, and then bring those prongs over the top, bend them flat to the clasp, and the bit of glue that's still on there should make that nice and secure. Just make sure that all the bits of fabric are tucked in. Still got a bit of glue showing, but that will come off, and it dries clear anyway. So there we go, that is the clasp on there. Make sure it's nice and straight, and then just put that to one side. So right, now what we're going to do is take the bag. On the back, that's the one without the accent, we're going to place this centrally. So I'm just going to make sure it's all nice and flat so I can see what I'm stitching. Just got a bit of wadding stuck out. So find the halfway of the bag. It's there. Place the halfway of the bag and the halfway of the flap together, right sides together, and I'm going to pop a clip there. Clip all the way along the flap, making sure that you don't clip that hoop in there. You don't want that to get caught, whatever you do. So that is the flap clipped in, and we're going to stitch along that top piece. Again, just make sure that you move that metal ring out of the way. So I'm going to actually pull it up so I can see it's there. I do not want to get that caught in my needle. So stitch in place, removing the clips as you go. That tack at the beginning. Now I like to do the other part of the clasp when the bag's all put together. So I'm going to tuck the rings inside. I'm going to place the bag lining right sides out. And I want my card slots on the back. I'm just going to trim off the excess wadding here. It tends to stretch a little bit as you stitch, which is not a problem. You don't want it baggy inside. A little bit more at this side. Right, now place the part with the pockets against the back of the bag. That's the bit with the flap on. Put that inside, match up the side seams. Open out the seams to reduce a bit of bulk. Match up the opposite side seam. And then we're going to stitch all the way around the top. So we're going to stitch all the way around the top because we've left the turning gap on the lining. So make sure you catch everything in. Try and keep it as flat as possible. Open all the seams out to reduce a little bit of bulk. Be careful when you come to the sides where the strap connectors are. Just going to use my stiletto to make sure I'm not going to hit anything. That's fine. Around the front, matching all the raw edges up again. Right, coming around to the other side seam, so I'm just going to be careful again tuck that ring inside. And back round to where we started from. Right, so now what you need to do is pull the lining out, put your hand inside, grab hold of the bag and pull that through the turning gap. There we go, so you can see the main bag come out, the flaps come out. Tuck the lining back inside. You'll be able to see inside of this one a bit better because the lime green's a bit lighter than the navy, well, a lot lighter than the navy blue. There you've got your bag. You can see on the inside you've got your card slots and your pocket. And we need to now find where the front clasp needs to go. So I'm just going to fold that over. I don't want to make it too tight because I want these sides to hang up nicely. I'm just going to centralize it and put a mark through with my pen. There we go. So you can see the little marks on there. I'm going to get my scissors. I'm going to put my hand inside. So I'll only go through the flap, or rather the accent fabric. I'm just going to put a little snip there. I'm going to get the glue again. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue over those slits. And now we're going to push the prongs of this through those slits that we've just cut. Oops. There we go. And on the inside, we're going to place that washer over the top of those prongs. Fingers and thumbs. You might have to push them together a little bit first. So put that over the top and then you're going to fold those prongs either in or out, it doesn't matter. I always like to fold them in. I'm just going to make sure that they are really secure. I do put a little bit of glue on there as well. And when that dries, it holds it nice and firm. And then you would sew up your turning gap, and I'm going to rivet my handle on. So if you're not riveting it on, if you don't have a rivet press, the clasp works just like goes through and then turns like so. All you would do is get your strap, put it through from the outside in, fold it over and stitch. And there is the Ciara bag. So thank you for watching. I hope you'll have a go at this and take care. Bye.